In football, some stories are too wild even for a scriptwriter to dream up. Underdogs taking down giants, unknown players shutting down world-class stars, and entire stadiums in shock, unable to believe what they were seeing.
Olha a Arábia Saudita dentro da área, finalização! Gol!
So get ready, because today you're going to see the biggest giant killings in the history of football. Let's kick things off with a match that even earned its own name, the Alcorconazo. It was October 27th, 2009 for the Copa del Rey. The city was Alcorcón. The stage, a modest third division stadium. On one side, the biggest club in the world, Real Madrid. Without Cristiano Ronaldo and resting Kaká, Real Madrid still had Raúl, Benzema, Van der Vaart, Guti, and company. But on the other side, Alcorcón came out hungry for a fight. They came to make history, and what unfolded there was a proper masterclass. Less than 2 minutes in, Sergio Mora unleashed the first rocket from distance, and Dudek was immediately called into action. In the next play, Guti was dispossessed in midfield, and Ruben Sanz nearly chipped the Merengue keeper. It was a warning shot. They weren't here to mess around. Then, on 15 minutes, the unthinkable happened. Sergio Mora played it freely to Borja Perez at the edge of the area. The number 7 cut inside Diarra and fired a low shot across the goal, giving Dudek no chance. Goal for Alcorcón, and it was only the beginning. 3 minutes later, Benzema had a one-on-one chance to level it against the keeper, Juanma. But the number 1 pulled off the impossible and saved it with his shoulder. Then, in the very next play, Real made an absolute howler. Mora sent a low cross in from the right. Arbeloa tried to clear it, but he ended up knocking the ball into his own net. Own goal. 2-0. The stadium erupted. Real tried to chase the game. Guti, Van der Vaart, Granero, all of them were denied by Juanma. It was a world-class night from the keeper, and the punishment wasn't over yet. Before the 40-minute mark, on a lethal counterattack, notice how Arbeloa gets completely lost in the marking. Diego took on the defender Albiol and found Ernesto all alone at the back post. Goal again, 3-0. Real looked like an amateur side. 2 minutes later, the fourth almost came. Fernando appeared unmarked and only failed to score because keeper Dudek came rushing out in desperation. Then came halftime. Everyone was gobsmacked by the match. After the break, just on 51 minutes, another heavy blow for Real. A set piece from the right, Dudek made a poor clearance. Fernando challenged for the ball, and it fell to Borja Perez again. He took it on his chest. He picked his spot. 4-0. What on earth was happening? The Alcorcón fans were jumping for joy. The Real fans refused to believe it, and the fifth almost came right after. Borja crossed. The Real keeper was left stranded, and Fernando slid in but sent it wide. Real did manage to have more of the ball after that, but it was too little, too late. Juanma continued to save everything. Right at the end, Van Nistelrooy turned in the box and fired a low shot. Juanma parried it, and the ball kissed the post. Nothing was going right for Real. Final whistle, 4-0. The impossible had happened. The fans invaded the pitch. Alcorcón had just humiliated the biggest club in the world. In the second leg, Real did manage a 1-0 win at the Bernabeu, but it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. The elimination made headlines across the globe, and even today, this game is remembered as one of the greatest humiliations in the Merengues' history. Continuing with another humiliation of a European giant, this time Manchester United. It was only the second round of the 2014-15 League Cup, but it turned into one of the biggest embarrassments in the Red Devils' history. The English Giants were facing a third division opponent, the modest MK Dons. It was the beginning of the Louis van Gaal era, still searching for a first win. And this seemed like the ideal game. Right from the off, the Red Devils tried to assert themselves. Less than 5 minutes in, midfielder Nick Powell unleashed a left-footed cannonball from outside the box that skimmed the crossbar. It looked like it was going to be a rout, but what no one expected was what was about to unfold. At the 24-minute mark, the unthinkable happened. A shocking error playing out from the back. Defender Johnny Evans gifted the ball to midfielder Ben Reeves, who controlled it inside the area. With a sliding pass, the number 10 played it into the middle, and striker Will Grigg just had to tap it in. 1-0 to MK Dons, unbelievable. The little guys were ahead. Manchester tried to react, but couldn't break down the home side's wall. The marking was suffocating. Until halftime, Van Gaal's men failed to land a single dangerous shot inside the box, and the tragic script would continue in the second half. 58 minutes in, midfielder Andreas Pereira found striker Welbeck in the attacking third. The number 19 turned beautifully and struck it hard, but the ball went straight out of play. 3 minutes later, MK Dons responded with class. Daniel Powell received the ball after a good passing move and shot towards the corner, forcing keeper De Gea into a great save, but then came total chaos. Around the 62-minute mark, another play down the left. Reeves crossed it into the box, and while the United defense was sleeping, Will Grigg, completely free, decided to chest it into the back of the net. 2-0. Grigg was on fire. United were in flames, and it didn't stop there. 7 minutes later, the disaster worsened. Reeves once again appeared as the orchestrator. He turned, looked to the opposite side, and, with a stunning pass, left striker Afobe one-on-one with the keeper. The number 9 slotted it past De Gea. 3-0. A third assist for Reeves. He was running the show. United could only threaten from distance. In the 71st minute, striker James Wilson tried his luck from outside, but goalkeeper David Martin was on fire and parried it firmly. And just when it seemed the shame was complete, at 83 minutes came the screamer. Afobe received a long ball from his own half, twisted Evans inside out, sent fullback Vermeil to the ground, skipped past Andreas Pereira, and blasted it past De Gea into the corner. An unbelievable golazo. 4-0, a masterclass, a spectacle. 3 minutes later, Manchester almost got a consolation goal. Pereira crossed it onto Wilson's head, who headed it firmly. But David Martin, on a heroic night, made another massive save. From the corner, Vermeil appeared to have another go, but even that didn't work. The keeper smothered the ball and held on to the result. Final whistle, 4-0. A historic thrashing. Van Gaal's team left with their heads down. The MK Dons Stadium went absolutely wild. Elimination for the Red Devils, one of the biggest upsets in the history of Manchester United, and an unforgettable night for MK Dons. The third division team made it to the 4th round of the Cup and was eventually knocked out by Sheffield. Now let's go to the day the Brazilian Lone Star lit up the world. Club World Cup 2025. On one side, PSG, a title-winning machine. Champions of France, the Champions League, the French Cup, they had humiliated giants. 5-0 against Inter in the European final, 4-0 against Atletico. The perfect team with names like Vitinha and Donnarumma. On the other side, a survivor, Botafogo. Champions of Brazil and the Libertadores. But in crisis, the team had been dismantled. Only 8th in the Brazilian league, they almost got knocked out in the group stage of the Libertadores itself. Before the match, coach Renato Paiva delivered the line that would be remembered. The football cemetery is full of favorites, and the city of Los Angeles would witness a miracle. Less than a minute in, PSG had already made their presence felt. Kvaratskhelia received the ball on the left, cut inside, and struck a venomous shot. John, the wall and goal for the black and whites, dived beautifully and held it firmly. But Botafogo responded quickly. At 5 minutes, winger Artur received a long pass, controlled it on his chest, and unleashed a left-footed strike. Donnarumma had to stretch to the corner to prevent the opener. 3 minutes later, midfielder Allen, pressured in the middle by 3 French players, pulled off a sensational chip over midfielder Zaire Emery. This was a fearless Botafogo. This was the Brazilian spirit on the pitch. PSG was pressing. They were surrounding them. They were passing it around, but they couldn't break through until at 34 minutes, the improbable happened. Midfielder Savarino received the ball in the middle. The attacker controlled it, cut inside with a sharp move on defender Pacho, and hit a deflected shot. The ball took a nick off the defender and left Donnarumma helpless. Goal for Botafogo. An explosion in black and white. The Brazilian fans were going wild. The first half ended with the Brazilian team in the lead, but the battle was only halfway done. Right after the break, at 47 minutes, Botafogo hit them with a lightning-fast counterattack. Artur broke away, sprinting from his own half, and found fullback Alex Telles behind Hakimi. The fullback's shot was weak, and Donnarumma saved it. Right after, a scare. Midfielder Vitinha took a wicked free kick, and striker Gonzalo Ramos deflected it in the 6-yard box. John was there, a giant, confident, a leader. PSG was piling on the pressure, but Botafogo didn't feel it. They didn't tremble. They defended like an army. Every clearance was a final. Every tackle was like a goal. And PSG started to get desperate. They started misplacing passes. They started shooting wide. The Lone Star was shining brightly in the California sky. When the referee blew the final whistle, the world fell silent. Botafogo had beaten the best team in the world. In the following stages, Botafogo was stopped by another Brazilian team, Palmeiras in the round of 16, and PSG made it to the final, but was ultimately defeated by Chelsea. The next game was on the biggest stage in football, the World Cup. It was the opening match for Argentina two-time world champions who were riding a 36-game unbeaten streak. They had Messi, Di Maria, Lautaro, De Paul. On the other side, Saudi Arabia faced one of the greatest challenges in its football history, and what seemed impossible became a reality. In the very first minute, a scare. Di Maria made a good run down the right and crossed. The defense deflected it, and the ball fell cleanly for Messi to stroke it home. But the keeper, Alois, made a great save, preventing the opener. Minutes later, at the 6th minute, VAR spotted a grab on midfielder Paredes inside the box. Penalty. Messi stepped up to take it, and with all his class, sent the keeper the wrong way. Argentina opened the scoring, and everything seemed to be heading for a blowout. But Saudi Arabia held on. And not only that, they were plotting a counterpunch. Argentina even managed to score 3 more times in the first half. All of them were ruled out for offside. It was a sign. Something big was about to happen. And it did. Right at the start of the second half, Messi lost the ball in midfield. Saudi Arabia showed no mercy. A precise pass from striker Albarracin found center forward Al-Sheri on the run. He outmuscled Romero and shot low and across goal into the corner past Emiliano Martinez. An equalizer, an explosion. Unbelievable. What was already a surprise turned into history 5 minutes later. The Argentine defense cleared the ball poorly, and it fell on the left to midfielder Salem Al-Dawsari. The Saudi number 10 controlled it, cut inside, skipped past 2 defenders, and unleashed a bomb. A golazo, one of the best of the World Cup, 2-1, the impossible comeback. Argentina tried to react. At 62 minutes, the equalizer almost came. After a scramble in the box, fullback Tagliafico deflected it in the 6-yard box, and Alois made an incredible save. It was the beginning of a heroic performance from the Saudi keeper. At 83 minutes, Messi headed freely after a cross from Di Maria, and once again, he was there. Alois saved everything. Then came stoppage time, 14 minutes of drama. It was attack versus defense. Hearts were in mouths. Every corner, every clearance from the Saudi defense was celebrated like a goal. And when the final whistle blew, the impossible was done. Saudi Arabia had beaten the mighty Argentina. Messi defeated in the opening match, one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history, a match for the ages. Saudi Arabia ended up being eliminated in the group stage, but this match served as a wake-up call for an Argentina that went on to conquer the world under the command of Messi. And if you've watched the video this far, you're gonna drop a like, right? And also subscribe to the channel, because if you guys enjoy it, we'll make a part 2 and 3 of this video. In the meantime, watch this video that's appearing on your screen. I'm sure you're going to like it. My name is Christian Castro, and I'll see you in the next video.